This was never intended to be about us. And for all the controversy that's swirling around this program, tonight is just going to be about the men and women who have died in Iraq since the war began a year ago last March. We are most concerned that those of you watching tonight who have lost a family member or friend not suffer any further pain because of what we're doing. We've gone to great lengths to get the names right. We got those and the photographs either from the Army and the Marine Corps directly or through the Army Times, which has been enormously helpful to us. Members of our staff have called some of you directly to get the correct pronunciation of a name. Inevitably, though, I'll still get a few names wrong, and please understand that it's unintentional and I do apologize. Our initial plan was to read only the names of those who died in combat. A couple of days ago, we got a particularly moving call from the father of a soldier who'd been wounded in combat, decorated for heroism, but who died when the truck he was driving in flipped over. We asked for extra time, and the network gave it to us, so I'll be reading the names of all the American servicemen and women who have died in Iraq. At the end of the broadcast, after the last name has been read, and after I've brought you up to date on the very latest casualties, whose names we don't yet have, after that, I'll have a closing thought. If you're still with us and you're interested in knowing what my intentions were for this broadcast, I'll try to spell them out. But the names and the faces of the fallen tell their own story. And here it is. Jay Aubin, Ryan Beaupre, Brian Kennedy, Kendall Waters Bay, Thorell Childers, Jose Gutierrez, Thomas Adams, Christopher Seifert, Jamal Addison, Edward Aguiano, Michael Bitts, Brian Busing, George Buggs, Tamario Burkett, Kemafum Chanawangzi, Donald Klein Jr., Robert Dowdy, Ruben Estrella Soto, David Fribley, Jose Garibay, Jonathan Gifford, Jorge Gonzalez, Nolan Hutchings, Howard Johnson II, Philip Jordan, James Keel, Johnny Mata, Patrick Nixon, Lorianne Piestowa, Frederick Pokorny Jr., Brendan Rice, Randall Rossacker, Brandon Sloan, Thomas Slocum, Donald Waters, Michael Williams, Thomas Blair, Evan James, Bradley Courthouse, Gregory Sanders, Michael Johnson Jr., Francisco Martinez Flores, Donald May Jr., Patrick O'Day, Gregory Stone, Joseph Manusa, Robert Rodriguez, Jesus Suarez del Solar, Fernando Padilla Ramirez, James Cawley, Michael Curtin, Diego Rincon, Michael Weldon, Stephen White, Eugene Williams, Aaron Contreras, Michael LaLush, Brian McGinnis, Brandon Rowe, Jacob Butler, James Adamuski, Matthew Boulay, George Fernandez, Eric Halverson, Scott Jamar, Michael Pedersen, Eric Smith, Nathan White, Mark Evnen, Nino Livaday, Ryan Long, Donald Oakes Jr., Randall Rain, Russell Ripto, Todd Robbins, Eric Silva, Tristan Aitken, Travis Ford, Bernard Gooden, Brian McPhillips, Dwayne Rios, Benjamin Samus, Paul Smith, Stephen Booker, Larry Brown, Edward Smith, Gregory Huxley Jr., Kelly Pruitt, Andrew Aviles, Eric Das, Lincoln Hollinsade, Jeffrey Kaler, Jesus Martin Antonio Medellin, Anthony Miller, George Mitchell, William Watkins III, Henry Brown, Juan Guadalupe Garza Jr., John Marshall, Jason Meyer, Scott Sather, Robert Stever, Jeffrey Bohr Jr., Terry Hemingway, Riayan Tejeda, Jesus Gonzalez, David Owens Jr., John Brown, Thomas Foley III, Marlon Rockhold, Troy Jenkins, Hans Guckheisen, Richard Carl, Patrick Griffin Jr., Brian Van Dusen, Thomas Broomhead, Matthew Schramm, Jose Perez III, Michael Quinn, Brandon Oberleitner, Atanasio Haramarin, Michael Dooley, Jesse Halling, Sean Pankey, Gavin Neighbor, Michael Dewell, Robert France, Paul Nakamura, William Latham, Andrew Chris, Orenthal Smith, Vladimir Phillip, Kevin Ott, Tomas Soteo Jr., Richard Orengo, Edward Hergott, Timothy Conway, Jeffrey Wershow, David Parson, Dan Gabrielson, Chad Keith, Michael Crockett, Roger Rowe, Joel Bertoldi, Gerardo Moreno, Justin Garvey, Jonathan Rozier, Mark Bibby, Jason Jordan, Evan Ashcraft, John Fettig, Brett Christian, Joshua Byers, Hector Perez, Raheen Heiter, Jonathan Cheatham, Jonathan Barnes, Wilfredo Perez Jr., Daniel Methvin, William Marr III, Heath McMillan, Michael Deutsch, Leif Knott, Kyle Gilbert, Justin Hebert, David Perry, Brian Hellerman, Taft Williams, Timmy Brown Jr., Eric Hull, William White, Keelan Jones Huffman, Bobby Franklin, Gregory Bellinger, Darrell Dent, Mark Lawton, Rafael Navea.
At Volunteers of America, we don't just give kids a way to stay off the streets. We give them the tools they need to reach their full potential. We don't just help the elderly receive needed care. We help them live life to the fullest. We don't just provide food for homeless individuals and families. We provide job training and placement so they can buy groceries. Volunteers of America is a national organization that for over 100 years has provided programs and services that allow people to overcome their challenges to become vital members of their community. At Volunteers of America, we don't just help people, we help people help themselves. Find out how you can support the programs that are working in your community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
Charles Caldwell, Joseph Kamara, Ryan Carlock, Joseph Robsky Jr., William Bennett, Kevin Moorhead, Trevor Blumberg, Kevin Kimmerly, Richard Arriaga, Lunsford Brown II, Anthony Thompson, James Wright, David Friedrich, Frederick Miller Jr., Robert Lucero, Kyle Thomas, Christopher Cutshall, James Blankenbeckler, Ana Laura Esparza Gutierrez, Simeon Hunt, James Pirtle, Spencer Carroll, Kerry Scott, Richard Torres, Joseph Norquist, Sean Silva, Christopher Swisher, James Powell, Donald Wheeler, Stephen Wyatt, Joseph Belavia, Sean Grilly, Kim Orlando, Michael Williams, David Bernstein, John Hart, Paul Johnson, John Teal, Artemis Brassfield, Michael Hancock, Jose Mora, Stephen Acosta, Rachel Bosveld, Charles Buring, Joseph Guerrera, Jamie Huggins, Aubrey Bell, Jonathan Falanico, Michael Barrera, Isaac Campoy, Todd Bryant, Benjamin Colgan, Joshua Hurley, Maurice Johnson, Daniel Bader, Ernest Bucklew, Stephen Conover, Anthony D'Agostino, Darius Jennings, Karina Lau, Keelan Moss, Brian Peniston, Ross Pennanen, Joel Perez, Brian Slavinas, Bruce Smith, Francis Vega, Paul Velasquez, Joe Wilson, Rayshawn Johnson, Francisco Martinez, Jose Rivera, James Chance III, Paul Fisher, James Wolfe, Cornell Gilmore, Kieran Kennedy, Morgan Kennan, Paul Neff II, Scott Rose, Benedict Smith, Sharon Swartworth, Gary Collins, Kurt Froscheiser, Mark Vasquez, Nicholas Tomko, Gennaro Acosta, Marlon Jackson, Robert Wise, Jacob Fletcher, Joseph Minucci II, Ramon Torres, Irving Medina, Michael Acklin II, Ryan Baker, Kelly Bolor, Jeremiah DiGiovanni, William Dusenberry, Richard Hafer, Warren Hansen, Sheldon Hawk Eagle, Timothy Hazlett, Damian Heidelberg, Eric Kesterson, Pierre Pish, John Russell, Scott Sabot, John Sullivan, Eugene Yule III, Joey Whitner, Jeremy Wolfe, Alexander Coulter, Dale Panchett, Joseph Lister, George Wood, Eddie Manyweather, Rel Ravago IV, Jerry Wilson, Ariel Rico, Aaron Sissel, Uday Singh, Stephen Bertolino, Aaron Clark, Raphael Davis, Jason Wright, Ray Hutchinson, Jarek Petty, Richard Burdick, Jared Black, Marshall Edgerton, Christopher Holland, Kimberly Voles, Stuart Moore, Charles Bush Jr., Benjamin Biskey, Edward Saltz, Christopher Solzer, Eric Cook, Thomas Christensen, Christopher Splinter, Stephen Hattemer, Charles Haight, Michael Sutter, Ernesto Blanco, Ray Cuervo, Solomon Bangayan, Kimberly Hampton, Eric Paliwoda, Mark Seiden, Luke Frist, Jesse Meisner, Craig Davis, Michael DiRamondo, Christopher Golby, Gregory Hicks, Nathaniel Johnson, Philip Johnson Jr., Ian Manuel, Jeffrey Walker, Aaron Weaver, Ricky Crockett, Cody Orr, Larry Polly Jr., Edmund Randall, Kelly Hornbeck, Gabriel Palacios, James Parker, Jason Chappelle, Irvin DeVichy, Kenneth Hendrickson, Randy Rosenberg, Keith Smet, William Sturgis Jr., Matthew August, James Hoffman, Luke James, Lester Kinney II, Travis Muthart, Corey Marasic, Sean Landrus, Ryan Young.
Introducing the Nissan Quest, a revolutionary minivan featuring 5 Skyview windows, front and side impact 5-star safety rating, an innovative center console, automated side and rear lift doors, and fold-away second and third row seats. Moms have changed. Shouldn't the minivan?
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Eternity for men. Calvin Klein. For Mother's Day, Eternity and Eternity Purple Orchid gift sets, now at Dillard's.
David Moreno, Juan Cabral Banuelos, Holly McGough, Eliu Mersandoval, Roger Turner Jr., Seth Dvorin, Joshua Knowles, Richard Ramey, William Ramirez, Patrick Tainch, Eric Ramirez, Nicole Fry, Michael Marilla, Christopher Taylor, Jeffrey Graham, Roger Ling, Michael Woodliff, Richard Gottfried, Bert Hoyer, Joe Dunnigan Jr., Christopher Hill, Joel Brattain, Jocelyn Carrasquillo, Clint Ferrin, Jason Ford, John Kurth, Daniel Londono, Ivory Phipps, Andrew Brownfield, Ricky Morris Jr., Brandon Smith, David Vicente, Matthew Sandry, Mark Taylor, Christopher Hudson, Andrew Dang, Wentz Schanneberger III, Jeffrey Burgess, Adam Froelich, Leroy Sandoval Jr., Jeremiah Holmes, William Wiskowich, Brandon Davis, Doyle Herfstedler, Michael Carr Jr., Sean Mitchell, Cleston Rainey, Dustin Sekula, William Strange, Eric Barr, John Amos II, Robert Arciaga, Ahmed Kaysen, Y.L. Chen, Tyler Fay, Israel Garza, Stephen Hiller, Forrest Justes, Michael Mitchell, Jeffrey Morris, Philip Rogers, Casey Sheehan, Shane Goldman, Moises Langhorst, Scott Larson Jr., David McKeever, Christopher Ramos, Matthew Serio, Jesse Thierry, Benjamin Carmen, Marcus Cherry, Christopher Cobb, Kyle Crowley, Derek Halal, Ryan Jerebeck, Travis Layfield, Fernando Medes Aceves, Luis Moreno, Anthony Roberts, Lee Todorchin, Alan Walker, John Robluski, Tiana Felder, William Labadie Jr., Christopher Mabry, Marvin Miller, Brent Morell, George Rentschler, Levi Angel, Nicholas Deeruff, Philip Frank, William Harrell, Isaac Nieves, Joshua Palmer, Michael Wofford, Christopher Wasser, Eric Ion, Felix Del Greco, Peter Enos, Gregory Goodrich, Raymond Jones Jr., Jonathan Kephart, Toby Mellett, Matthew Matula, Don McMahon, Chance Phelps, Michael Spear, Elias Torres III, Alan Vandenberg, Michelle Whitmer, Adolfo Carbello, William Eckhart, Antoine Holt, Justin Johnson, John Sims Jr., Daniel Amaya, Nathan Brown, Lawrence Colton, Wesley Fortenberry, Torrey Gray, Oscar Jimenez, Michael Stack, George Torres, Brad Shooter, Noah Boy, Michael Smith Jr., Victor Rosales Lomeli, Robert Zurheide, Richard Trevithick, Kevin Colm, Richard Gannon II, Christopher Ramirez, Robert Henderson II, Brian Wood, Michael McLaughlin, Jonathan Hartman, Ruben Valdez Jr., Clayton Henson, Bradley Fox, Dennis Morgan, Christopher Gibson, Gary Van Leuven, Elma Kraus, Jason Dunham, Christopher Watts, Sean Edwards, Arthur Felder, Michael Pernicelli, Billy Orton, Nathan Bruckenthal, Sherwood Baker, Patrick Kordsmeyer, Christopher Gelino, Stacy Brandon, Abraham Penamedina, Lawrence Rookie, Jacob Herring, Kenneth Melton, Adam Estep, Aaron Austin, Martin Condor.
Okay. Okay, Mike, I know you think your truck is totally sick, but this is what I think of your precious 4x4 hang out all day with your stupid friend's truck! Push it!
It may feel like the first time, but it's actually Earl's third Ford truck. This happy camper just got a great deal on the 2004 F-150.
Motor Trend's Truck of the Year.
Thanks, Earl. Ford Spring Sales Event ends soon. Lease a 2004 F-150 STX for just $299 a month with only $175 down. So don't miss Ford's Spring Sales Event.
It's not a real mic.
I'm aware of that.
Nobody in America sells more cars than Toyota, and it's easy to see why. You start with a great car, a great deal, and a great place to get both. Leading the way is Toyota Camry, America's best-selling car 2 years in a row and 6 out of the last 7. Now get a new Camry with 0% financing. That's 0% that could save you over $2,200 on Camry. Remember, it's not a great deal unless it's a great car, and there's only one place to get both. See your Toyota dealer before it all ends April 30th.
Nicholas Hodson, Eric Orlowski, Brandon Tobler, Kevin Nave, Roderick Solomon, William Jeffries, Joseph Maglione, Brian Anderson, Christian Gertner, Chad Bales, Wilbert Davis, Edward Korn, Wilfred Bellard, Daniel Cunningham, Devin Jones, Gil Mercado, Armando Gonzalez, Richard Goward, Joseph Mayick, Jason Milio, John Rivero, Andrew Arnold, Roy Buckley, Robert Channel Jr., Alan Lamb, Osvaldo Orozco, Narson Sullivan, Joe Garza, Jesse Givens, Sean Reynolds, Jason Deibler, Cedric Bruns, Matthew Smith, Jacob Kowalik, Jose Rodriguez, Nicholas Kleibacher, David Nutt, William Payne, Douglas Marin Correyes, Rashid Sahib, Dominic Baragona, Andrew Lamont, Jason Moore, Timothy Ryan, Kirk Straseski, Aaron White, Nathaniel Caldwell, David Evans Jr., Keeman Mitchell, Kenneth Nally, Brett Patrican, Jeremiah Smith, Kenneth Bradley, Michael Gleason, Kyle Griffin, Zachariah Long, Jonathan Lambert, Doyle Bollinger Jr., Travis Burkhart, David Sissing, John Kleinsmith Jr., Andrew Picorni, Ryan Cox, Joseph Sewell, Michael Tosto, Cedric Lennon, Gregory McDonald, Corey Hubble, Joshua McIntosh, Christopher Coffin, Travis Braddock Knoll, Corey Small, Barry Sanford Sr., Craig Bowling, Robert McKinley, Jason Tetrolt, Melissa Valles, Christian Schultz, Joshua Noosh, Paul Cassidy, Jara Puello Coronado, Corey Garin, Mason Whetstone, David Scott, Christopher Willoughby, Juan Serrano, Nathaniel Hart Jr., James Lambert III, Faro Letufuna, David Lloyd, Zeffirino Kalunga, Leonard Simmons, Dwayne Longstreth, Matthew Bush, Brandon Ramsey, Levi Kinchin, Floyd Knighton Jr., Richard Eaton Jr., Daniel Parker, David Kirchhoff, Craig Ivory, Kenneth Harris Jr., Michael Adams, Vaughn Mack, Stephen Scott, Ronald Allen Jr., Pablo Manzano, Anthony Sherman, Sean Catadella, Cameron Sarno, Christopher Sisson, Bruce Brown, Jarrett Thompson, Henry Ibarra III, Alyssa Peterson, Brian Fonts, Paul Storino, Michael Andrade, Robert Rooney, Andrew Baddick, Darren Potter, Dustin McGaw, Tamara Ramos, Paul Kimbrough, Charles Sims, Jose Casanova, Benjamin Freeman, Douglas Weissmantle, Paul Bush, John Johnson, Jason Ward, Algernon Adams, Robert Benson, Linda Jimenez, James Schull, Nathan Daly, Gary Coleman, Scott Terrell, Robert Roberts, Damian Bushart, Darrell Smith, Christopher Nason, Thomas Sweet II, David Goldberg, Joseph Blickenstaff, Clarence Boone, Christopher Wesley, Stephen Bridges, Aaron Reese, Todd Bates, Ryan Ferguson, Jeffrey Braun, Nathan Nakus, Kenneth Soslin, Michael Yashinsky, Glenn Allison, Kurt Jordan Jr., Michael Mihalakis, Dennis Corral, Justin Pollard, Roland Castro, Keisha Hines, Brian Hazelgrove, Michael Blaze, Patrick Dorff, Christopher Bunda, Armando Soriano, Adam Mooney, Elijah Wong, Thomas Robbins, Brian Spry, Jude Mariano, Matthew Laskowski, Henry Bacon, Michael Gray, Stephen Wells, Matthew Milczark, Gussie Jones, William Normandy, Edward Brabazon, Thomas Thigpen Sr., Michael Adams, Doran Chan, Tracy Larimore, Jason Ludlam, Ernest Sutphen, Michael Vega, Clint Matthews, Bruce Miller Jr., Dustin Kreider, Timothy Toney, James Casper, Richard Ferguson, Sean Schneider, Jimmy Aroyave, Frank Rivers Jr., Edward Carmen, Marvin Camposil, Corey Brooks, Leroy Harris Kelly, Marcus Whitaker, Nathan Bailey. As of this evening, the Pentagon informs us the total number of U.S. servicemen and women who have died in Iraq is at 737, including 2 Marines who were killed today. We do not yet have the names of 16 among that total. Now, a closing thought. There is no easier applause line in American politics than to invoke the brave men and women fighting in our behalf. As for those who've died, they can be used with equal cynicism by the hawks and the doves. You want to whip up support for the war? It goes something like this. We owe it to the men and women who have died in the cause of freedom that we complete their mission with honor. You oppose the war and want to pull the troops out. It's one variation or another of this theme. Too many brave men and women have already died in a war that never should have been fought in the first place. Our goal tonight was to elevate the fallen above the politics and the daily journalism, to let their names and faces remind us of what has always been true. When the American people fully understand the cause for which our troops are fighting, and when they accept that it is essential to our national welfare and security, no burden is too heavy, no cost is too high. It may well be that the war against terrorism, which is all too real, does require that our troops spend many more dangerous years in Iraq. At times, there is no alternative to war. During World War II, more than 16 million Americans served in uniform, and over 400,000 of those died. Most Americans believed then and believe now that the sacrifice was necessary. The reading tonight of those 721 names was neither intended to provoke opposition to the war, nor was it meant as an endorsement. Some of you doubt that. You are convinced that I am opposed to the war. I'm not. But that's beside the point. I am opposed to sustaining the illusion that war can be waged by the sacrifice of a few without burdening the rest of us in any way. I oppose the notion that to be at war is to forfeit the right to question, criticize, or debate our leaders' policies, or for that matter, the policies of those who would like to become our leaders. Nightline will continue to do all of those things in the weeks and months to come. But not tonight. That is not what this broadcast was about. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
cross to help prepare your community, you never know how many lives you might change. When we come together, we become part of something bigger than us all.
You're watching ABC.